So the past probably 6 weeks or so, I've been doing like legislating here in Delaware. So, not legislating, but like lobbying, making public comments. I've been going up to the Capitol like every week because we've had legislative sessions where, they would either legislate or make public comment or, whatever it may be, like, learning to walk around and talk to the senators and ask if we have their votes on specific bills. And so June 30th was Delaware's like last legislative session of the entire year. So they packed in like over 75 bills and then they were there until like the morning after like 6 a.m. I'm not sure why they do it that way, but
Mm.
so that's been really exciting because Delaware's been passing a lot of legislation that's actually going to be super helpful for the rest of the country. Like we just put an amendment in one of our bills to an amendment to the John Lewis Voting Rights Act here in Delaware, just adding
Awesome.
more protections, prohibiting voter intimidation and, things like that. They put a requirement in there where people who speak other languages, they have to provide the election offices, Department of Elections, like has to provide literature in their language, which
Mhm.
should be a given, but like it's not. So we added that in there. We passed legislation, which I'm really excited about. This is in regards to reverse keyword warrants. Are you familiar with those at all by any
No,
chance?
I'm not.
So reverse keyword warrants and reverse location warrants are essentially where say there was a shooting in your neighborhood and or say somebody got poisoned in your neighborhood and the cops don't know who it was and they say we want to look up every single person within a 10-mile radius. We want to see their complete internet history, their search history. We want to know if they've looked up poison or whatever. So automatically you're putting people that have nothing to do with this. And, it affects so many people. I'm thinking, my fears, like my kids are in school and they look up certain subjects for projects and things like that. So if they're going to blanket everybody and put everybody, that essentially means even if you're not guilty, well, they just took your information, they have it, they know what you did during this time. So we just passed legislation which prohibits police to use reverse keyword warrants here in Delaware, and that will help the rest of the nation because so
Yeah.
many of like the majority of companies I think in the world are established here in Delaware because of our lax tax laws. So a lot of people are established, a lot of corporations are established here. So say Meta is in Delaware and and I'm sure it's much more there's probably I don't know if I'm sure there's loopholes and other nuanced things, but say like Meta was based here in Delaware and the police want Meta to provide whatever. Well, since Meta's in Delaware doesn't we
Right.
don't participate in reverse keyword, so it's kind of like going to help people in that way because so many
Yeah.
corporations in other states are established here. So, but like these are some of the things that I've been doing. And then my friend is running for state representative in Wilmington. So I'm really excited to help him with his campaign
Amazing.
because he's going to be the type of person that gets shit done for everybody. And that's really what we
Yes,
need. So, yeah, that's
I love
kind of what
it.
I've been up to lately.
That's just
Kind of.
just a couple things here and there. Yeah. I really love the focus on the state. So, we're Citizens Impeachment is where we started, right? Like it is a citizens group focused on advocacy, trying to get the people in Congress to actually do their jobs and uphold the Constitution and remove this illegal government. It has been a slog. Let me just be real clear about that. I find myself doing the lobbying thing too, but my lobbying is basically, are you ready to do your jobs yet? No? Okay. Then I will go make fun of you on the internet. That's been
Yeah.
basically what
Same.
we've been doing. But we see movement with that actually, because
Yeah.
these folks are largely motivated by shame. So a week or so ago, Major Watson, officer active duty in
Mhm.
uniform, stood on the Capitol steps. I'm a veteran myself. The woman organizing this, Jessica Denson with Lights On and the Removal Coalition, invited me to come participate. And so we were there for that moment. And, obviously that made a huge splash, right? You've got a guy in uniform, photo op with impeach, convict, remove sign out there.
Yeah.
Media picked it up in a way I haven't seen in a lot of places for national level accountability, right? And then and then CNN brought Jessica on to their program to talk about this, to talk about why it was important that this man made this stand. And immediately afterwards, Representative Adam Smith got on CNN and said, "Well, it's complicated."
What's
and so
complicated?
it
The
complicated,
arrest?
right? We had another person say the devil's in the details. I'm like, no, it's not. Y'all just need to do the thing, right? It's real straightforward.
Right.
But what happened after that was the whole movement that was on board with Watson came after Adam Smith. And so today, 2 weeks later, he has put out a video saying it's time to remove Donald Trump. And like,
Oh,
2 weeks, right? And, a year and a half to do the right thing, but he did it, and he did it because of this public pressure.
yeah.
And while it is wild that at the federal level, what you have to do is just relentlessly bully these people into doing the right thing, it is really nice that at the state level, you can actually still get things done that have a really big impact in ways just like you're talking with Delaware, with setting the conditions that corporations operate under, right? The Montana plan is another example of this kind of stuff, where they're working to get states to remove the ability of corporations to participate in politics. So states
Yes.
define what a corporation can and cannot do. And these folks in Montana said, well, we're just going to say corporations can't do politics. We get to decide that. Hawaii's adopted it. It's a way around Citizens United. It's a really creative solution. And man, I'm just so excited to hear about state level initiatives that are close to the ground that can actually function and get through the state houses, in part because there's not so much drama at like the federal level constantly has. So I'd love to hear more about what lobbying is like for you there as you're working to like protect your communities and figure out how to make government functional and helpful. Even imagine that.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because actually with the corporations, we did just do a bad thing. Delaware just made it legal, I think, for certain corporations to vote. Wasn't that us? I think so.
It's like a beach. It's like a beach town. The beach town let all of their
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
In Sussex County. So crazy. But like so I haven't actually been as involved locally, and that's kind of why I got into it recently, because I've kind of, since coming off the campaign, which was like a year and a half ago, I've still been in like a national and global mindset and paying more attention to what's happening, as a whole. So there was like, I got an email from the ACLU, because the ACLU here is super active, and they always have trainings, virtual, in person, know your rights trainings, and come, join us for legislative days. And so I was like, all right, come to the Capitol and find out, what's what. And just found out, especially here, because it's so small, it's so easy to get in there and to talk to. I mean, and I didn't know, like, it's like, I don't think people realize that how accessible it is, and that people are allowed to just walk in. And I didn't know that. I thought I had to be in a uniform or be with a senator or be with the governor, and you don't. You can just go there and you can sit in and just listen and watch them legislate. You can talk to different senators and their assistants. And I mean, so yeah, I'm so glad that I got involved, because I didn't realize like just how easy it was. Now I'm like, I should have been freaking doing this the whole time, because I have so many things in my head that I want to legislate, that I know needs to be legislated here in Delaware, like specifically, proactive things. And, because of what's, whatever's going to come after November. And I'm just kind of worried, because here our legislative session ended in June. Ooh, my cat's knocking my stuff over. In June. So so it's like we have 6 whole months now, right? We're going to go with no legislation. Like November's coming. Obviously they can hold special sessions and things like that if, emergency legislation needs to be put through, but I'm just thinking this is the worst time to be out. Like these next 6 months are the most crucial, and we need all hands on deck, and I'm just, so I guess I'm just trying to like now navigate, okay, now that they're out of session, I kind of want to get further in with the ACLU to find out how how I can help legislate bills and bring bills to the table and stuff and work with some of them, like the attorneys maybe to help draft up things just because it's so easy. Um, and I think more people should be doing those things if you didn't realize that you could, but it's just too easy. So yeah,
Mhm.
and it has been really fulfilling just because I've realized how easy it is and how much movement we can make. It's not like there's something that I want to get done and the country won't do it. It's like I can literally walk up to Legislative Hall and talk to somebody and they're
Mhm.
down to earth. I even like ran into a Republican that was there and it was just like I was so caught off guard because I haven't, I don't know how they're gonna act because things are nasty here. Like there are some nasty politics, there's some infighting. I mean,
Sure.
and that's probably everywhere. So you just don't know what to expect. But I was pleasantly surprised when I went to I was lobbying on the last day, it was the 30th, and he came out of his room and looked at me and the woman I was with, and we were gonna ask if we could have his a vote yes on that bill for the reverse keyword warrants. And he came out of the
Mhm.
room and he looked at us and he was like, "Hey," and walked up to us and hugged us and was like, "What do you have in your hand? Like, tell me what," like he wanted to know what we were doing. I was like, "He's a Republican?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, he's really nice." And I'm like, "This is weird." Like, yeah,
Yeah.
he seems like a nice guy. And so that makes me hopeful too, knowing that there's probably a few more like him there, and just knowing that when shit really hits the fan, when shit really gets dark, when, in Delaware, we've had over 800 people deported or taken by
Oh,
ICE
man.
since like almost January of 2025, which is insane
Yeah.
because it's such a small state. But like when things
Absolutely.
like this are happening, I find it more comforting to know that some of these Republicans are not like the nasty ones we see on TV that'll stonewall you. Like they seem to have a heart. And I just feel like we have the ability to do so much. And I just don't think we realize it, And it's just kind of within the past year, I've been taking autonomy and just doing what I want to do, walking in the rooms I want to walk into, asking the questions I want to ask and not
Mhm.
giving a shit. You know what I mean? And we have so much power. So it's really empowering, it's inspiring, it's motivating, and I love it.
That's amazing. It is a different experience on this side, on the federal side, just because there really is, I mean, drama is the only word I have for it, right?
Right.
Theater is another one. We have people that are performing that action of, being the good guys and the bad guys, right? And the performative good guy vibes that people keep trying to cultivate
Yeah.
have nothing to do with actual opposition to what is a very dangerous and unaccountable administration, right? It's more of a desire to be thought well of and less of a taking principled stands or actually engaging with things. The the thing that we hear most often about impeachment in particular is that well, we just need a Republican to go along with it, and it's like, folks, y'all work in the same building. Can you not knock on their door? Can you
Yeah,
not say
right, right.
hello to your colleagues, right? There's probably someone from your state, and you probably should know them anyway. But it's such a rigid set of lines and protocol and I don't know, decorum, I think is a word that gets tossed
Yeah.
around a lot. And folks are just really afraid to step out of line up here on this side. It is, and so what we've done, after about 50 meetings with representatives on impeachment, we said, well, these guys are never going to do it. They just keep giving us excuses. And so we brought together candidates, right? And these are all federal level candidates for the most part. But they too are starting from the ground up, right? Like these are just working class people that have lived in their neighborhoods forever and a day. And I mean, a lot of them are just thinking, well, I can definitely do better than this, right? Like a
Yeah,
lot, a
right,
lot of them
right.
are getting into politics because, I mean, this is absurd. If they can do it, then obviously I have a shot at
Exactly.
this too. And really the question just comes down to, are you willing to put in the work, right? For these candidates, Courage for Democracy is the name of the PAC that we started. And, we don't ask about how much money you raised or whether your campaign is viable or whatever, right? We basically just ask, are you willing to become like a formidable opponent to the establishment, yes or no? And whatever that means, like, I don't know what it means for you in your specific situation, but are you willing to get in there, roll up your sleeves, and get scary good at this? Because that's what it's going to take to actually get through all of the, the apathy and the fear and the machine spinning up to freeze you out, right?
Right.
Yes, you got to have that grit somewhere.
So your candidates, because I've seen a couple of them here, like being interviewed on Substack, and I think they've mentioned how like the camaraderie is, like, because everybody's on the same page with this. Is there support for them? Are they like, I'm curious, things that you can talk about, like, are they concerned
Yeah.
about, their safety and things like that? And, do they have, I guess, like a special kind of bond because they're all so motivated to do this?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good question. It's everybody came to the table for different reasons. Like, it was a different catalyst each time, right? But they're all there for the same reason, which is that it doesn't have to be like this. It can be better. We are nonpartisan, and we have an ethics code, which basically says, like, respect your fellow citizens, or respect your fellow candidates, and respect your voters, right? And those are the only two things we need you to respect. We don't need you to respect the existing people in government. We don't need you to respect, like, cops or sacred cows or policy positions. So we just need you to respect, like, your colleagues, respect your voters, and go from there, right? Because our whole thing is a responsive government. And I mean, for a lot of these folks, they have been interacting with some of the most, like, egregious excesses of the administration, right? We've got a lot of healthcare workers, so many people in healthcare that are just watching the folks that they take care about, struggle, and programs that used to work don't work anymore, and hospitals are closing, their colleagues are gone. Same thing with scientists, actually. Scientists are watching their colleagues vanish because immigration is going crazy. We had one woman from Ohio, Courtney Peterson, who joined us for a little while before health concerns had her step away from the race. And, she was just a housewife, and she watched people get taken. She was like, no, we cannot do this. We have to get in there and say that it can be different. So I think the biggest thing that we've been able to provide, because again, we're brand new. We're actually a PAC based in Delaware, believe it or not.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Taking advantage of the corporate law.
Yeah.
We are brand new. We have no money. We got nothing. We just got ourselves putting in the work. And so we are able to connect people. We're able to bring in experts. We're able to meet folks like yourself and, the kind of community of new media that bringing up, and try and plug them in where we can there. But every single time I have seen these folks get together and talk about policy issues, and they do all actually share a lot of policy issues. I'll drop the policy matrix in there. You guys can take a look at it. But every time they get together, it is like they are old friends. Like, they just have fantastic conversations. A lot of our Black candidates got together over the 4th of July for an event called 7 Days in DC. We actually had 2 candidate forums, and our Courage candidates were in all of them because they're the only people that are willing to show up and have conversations about what it's actually like out there. And for Black candidates in particular, they're real honest about the fact that, like, yeah, when you are campaigning in rural Virginia, you need, like, a tall white guy to go out on your behalf and knock on those doors, because having as a Black man knocking on those doors is going to look real different. Also, there's a lot of frustration. I'll just say this, a lot of frustration with sort of the industrial political complex. I'm sure you saw some of it when you were working. And I'm not just talking about folks that are elected, but I'm talking about PACs. I'm talking about, Indivisible. I'm talking about huge organizations that are ostensibly here and present to bring more people from more backgrounds into politics, and then get stuck in this cycle of, well, we got to have a win rate that is above a certain percentage, or we have to maintain our access to the establishment, right? All of these places that are supposed to be providing resources and help, for a lot of grassroots candidates, just kind of string you along, and then, you get nothing from it. And so what we're really finding is that it's not just the candidates that that need to find each other and have conversations here. It's just like it has to be everything. We got to build a whole new ecosystem.
I know. Yeah, I obviously, I don't know if you heard, but I talk very uh, thoroughly about and honestly about my experiences in the DNC and the way that I personally was treated, and so many of my Black colleagues were treated on the campaign, and a lot of things that a lot of the white leadership did to purposely oppress us and um, hinder us from being able to do our jobs, like not giving resources to, Black directors in battleground states who needed more canvassers or more literature or more, whatever it is. They had to beg and beg for the things that they just should have
Unbelievable.
gotten while, the DNC squandered money on catering and shirts that ended up literally getting thrown in dumpsters, boxes of them that they never passed out, Black Voters for Harris t-shirts and, all these kinds of things, events that they didn't hold. So one of my big things is the fact that that has to change because
Yep.
there's too much racism, there's too much misogyny, there's too much ableism, there's too much sexism in the DNC, but just in like you said, the system as a whole, right? Because it just, for whatever reason, people aren't held accountable, and I don't see us being able to get past any of this if we're not going to admit that. And for me, the DNC has to, if they want to get past this, and I literally, like I said this out loud the day November 6th, I think it was, like the day that I found out
Mhm.
that Trump won, I was like, this has to burn
Yeah.
because I know what you did. And I saw all the things that were happening. And I had this false sense of hope. And then it just like, it all of a sudden hit me like everything that I was trying to ring the alarm about, all of the HR calls, all of going to the union, all of these things. I'm like, yeah, this is a problem. Like, this is a serious coordinated effort, and like there's a lot of compromised people and positions, period, like in politics, and we're
Mhm.
seeing that play out now. With there's a lot of the infighting, a lot of the DSA versus the Democrats, and influencers who people aren't agreeing with. And for me, like the big thing is just that I'm seeing people are ignoring uh, the issue of race. They're not talking
Mhm.
about white supremacy and the impact that it has on our entire world. Our globe is melting because of white men in power who think that they know better. People are dying because of everything that they're doing right now. And so when we're not talking about the root of the issue, when we're not taking a strong stance against those things, it's just going to continue to perpetuate and fester. And the DNC has a history of sweeping things under the rug. And that's why we're
Yeah.
seeing so much right now, why everybody's pissed off at Ken Martin in the autopsy. Why I'm pissed, because the autopsy mentions nothing that occurred during the campaign that they purposely did to sabotage it, right? And there were outside sources that did the same, but they had a hand in it, and they're not admitting their part. And I
Yeah.
just don't see how anybody can move past anything when we're not acknowledging, talking about it, taking accountability, apologizing. And so I just feel like we're just in a spot where we need good people, good leaders who are bold, who are not afraid to say the
Mhm.
things, and we have to hold them accountable as they get into office. We have to start paying attention, and we have to start researching and not allowing these people to continue saying they're going to do one thing and then they get in office and they're a complete op. You can tell by the
Yeah.
way somebody talks. You can tell by their cadence. You can tell by their background. There's so many ways like we can tell if a person is
Yeah.
authentic, if they're genuine, if they truly care. And we just have to do a better job, I think, at like vetting those people. Unfortunately, it's up to us because, we can't count on our elected officials to do the right thing, they keep putting in people like them. And so that's why like I love what you're doing, and that, you have a group of people that, because it's so hard to figure out like who's with us and who's against us right now. There's no
Yeah.
party that we can look to. We can't say the DSA, we can't say the Democrats, we definitely can't say the Republicans. There's no party that represents all of us. And so to have citizens impeachment, have, these candidates who are all for this one thing that we all agree upon, like this has to happen, you're willing to hold them accountable, it makes it easier for us, I guess, to trust, those candidates at least and what they're doing. And then hopefully they'll rub off on the others and bring more in, because we can't go on like this.
Mhm. Well, there's so many places to go here. Like that's exactly what we're trying to do, right? So often people will get into office and they'll be frozen out of the machine, right? The machine doesn't want anybody that's not going to play by the rules, and so
Right.
they will have to figure out how to navigate that. And that's something that we're really thinking hard about by trying to keep these folks connected, so that they do all know each other, so that they do have each other's backs, and so that
Hmm.
there's not going to be sort of just like a grinding up by politics as usual. It's also really nice that impeachment is just a specific focused action that we know really clearly if it's been taken or not, right? A lot of the sort of like hand waving arguments of, oh, I got to talk to somebody or whatever, we just know that's false. So we
Right.
can tell
Right.
real straightforward. Did you do this? Yes or no? If yes, then awesome. You followed through. That's great. And it's hard to do this in a lot of political work, because it does take so long, because it requires so many people in the conversation. But in this point, we can stay real focused on the action and make sure that happens. And I think another huge piece of this, right? One that I wish, there's every time you start to talk about what you should do, you're not doing it. So
Exactly.
every time that we talk about how the DNC could be better, that's another just delay. That's another conversation people get sucked into. But what I really want to stress for folks, and let me just say up front, I've never worked within the Democratic Party at any level on official basis, right? I haven't been a precinct chair. I've never worked at the DNC. I have called people or called potential voters on a campaign once or twice, right? Like that's the extent of my deep political experience. But let me just say, the results are bad because they are bad at their job. Like I did not understand that at such a deep level before I started doing this work, because most of what I do now with candidates that are looking to turn out votes, right, is talk to county parties and say, how are you doing this? How are you connecting with people on the floor? Or like you right in your neighborhoods, how are you making sure that these people know that there's a candidate and that they can vote? And oh my God, like there's a gentleman who was he's from Colombia, and somehow his name got on like a translation service thing and during the Harris Biden campaign. And
Okay.
he just had people texting him randomly because there was nobody in Miami that the DNC sent down there. Like there were not people available in the neighborhoods. There are county parties that are running, get out the vote campaigns with $1,000, because that's what they get from the state party, and the DNC just doesn't show up or care. I guess it is unfathomable to me the level of disorganization that exists. And
Hmm.
I'm sure I'm telling you something that or nothing that you don't already know, but it is starting this project. I did have a really like I sort of felt like, well, we just need to work harder at it. And the answer is we just need to work at all. Man, we just need professionals that do
Yep.
the job. Like the shirt thing. I didn't know about this story, but that is an easy, you have the shirts, you just give them to people who will hand them out, right?
They
Like
didn't want to do
that
that.
is work that
They
can be
didn't
done.
want to do it. They didn't want to hire people to
But
do it.
what
They didn't want to do it themselves. A lot of the
unbelievable.
canvassers
Where
were
does the money go
young,
then?
and the leadership and directors just didn't hold them accountable because they weren't leaders. They let things go that should not have gone. And no, it really it I don't know what it was like on the outside. So to hear you say that, it's infuriating because I know, the director who was in Florida, and I know, I knew all the directors in all of the states, and as far as IT, and then, I also talked to directors for organizing, and, I was in touch with a lot of them. So, and a lot of them did come to me with the things that I'm telling you, like, that's why I know, because I was very
Yeah.
involved, and I wanted to make, relationships with people and find out what was really happening, and they trusted me with these things and told me what was happening, and I had to go to bat for them. "Do you think you could
Mhm.
get in touch with this person?" Because they only listened to me once I got my white manager involved. And
This and I wonder if that is, like, the superpower that we have. Like, I got the white lady face, right? Can I just show
mhm,
up and be like, "Why aren't you doing your job?" And they will listen to me? That will make my head explode. But
I don't know.
but I mean, if that is the work that I should be doing, right? To small story, small story. One of our candidates is in North Carolina. It's North Carolina 10, rural district. She has been with us from day one. Day one, November, she showed up. And we weren't even Courage candidates yet. We didn't, Courage for Democracy didn't exist. But she said, you know what? I'm going to run in this seat because our guy is horrible and I refuse to let him have that power anymore. And I'm going to win. And her name is Ashley Bell, North Carolina 10. Please go look her up. She's amazing. Ashley won the nomination in a field of 6 people with 52% of the vote. That is
Wow.
crazy. That is a primary. She took that primary and ran away
That's
with it. And the Democratic Party in North Carolina did not invite her to events, did not plug her into
mm,
their activities until we wrote an article that was like, why why can't this grassroots candidate gain traction in the Democratic Party of North Carolina? And then they did, they started doing events with all of these, with not just her, but all of the candidates. They started doing fundraising events and that sort of thing. But it took someone on the outside to be like, this seems like an obvious choice here. Why would you not support the person that won your primary that is in your party, right? For them to even consider that they needed to do more than what they were already doing. I I really I would yes, I would love your thoughts on any and all of like what the mindset is in here.
I think a lot of it, unfortunately, it makes me sick. I don't think this way, so my mind is just boggled 24/7, and I hate it because, like, I'll talk to my therapist, and I know you can't control things, and there's some things you're just not gonna get, and I can't let it go because I just don't understand why money does this, but I think that's what a lot of it boiled down to, and I mean, Open Secrets has their expenditures and disbursements, contributions, and all of that stuff. And you can see a lot of the things that were wasted. And, why did we have I ran into um, Sheen, Martin Sheen in the elevator on the way home one day. I had to leave early. But they would have celebrities like Martin Sheen and like people that, no offense, but this was Kamala. Like, what are you doing? Like Katy Perry. I don't like, and people are trying to make suggestions as to what we need to do. But the thing is, like, once she became the candidate, shortly after the hype, you could start seeing that they didn't like that, Black people were now in a position where this is their expertise. They know what to do. Well, we're a bunch of white people that were just hired for Biden. Now all of a sudden they're going to take over. Like that's kind of what it was. And so that's why we got treated so crappy. And that's why they didn't fund, the events and stuff that they should have been having down there. North Carolina had so many problems. Oh man, like
I would love to hear them
racist,
all. You don't have to say them
nasty
right here. You
women
can tell
that
them to me
worked.
later. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry.
like it was horrible. And every Black person that went there and came back said, "Oh yeah, the rumors are true. She is nasty. She should not be around a single human being, Black or white." Like complaint after
Really?
complaint after complaint, and she did something so sinister, I'm not even gonna say it here, but, like, insane, and they still let these people just stay on, So you've got it's not even just the Black versus white thing, you've got infighting and, like, no real accountability at the battleground offices because they don't have, like, actual DNC employees there, We had that at HQ because we're close enough to DC. So, I mean, there's some DNC, but it's just not the same. They don't have the same level of support that we did at HQ. They have to
Yeah.
ask for more things. And I think it just boiled down to that. the fact that they felt like they were losing power, and they wanted things their way. And we know that spite, historically, it's just a thing. They would drain the pools, so that,
Yeah.
Black people couldn't swim. And that's exactly what was happening here. And I was like trying to fix all of these things that were going wrong that should not have been going wrong, and having so many back and forth with HR and the union because it was so toxic and horrible. And that was just me. And my
Wow.
story's not even like the worst, but it's just like, and these are things that I experienced and witnessed and talked to so many people about, because I was infuriated. Like, tried to do whatever I could. And so I think it was that. And then I think,
Yeah.
again, it was the money. And I think, a lot of people come in and they have their own interests, and, they bring people in, it's very, there's a lot of nepotism. So they bring in a lot of people that are totally unqualified, have absolutely no business working on a campaign, probably shouldn't be working, period. And, a lot of them had motives that just seemed the complete opposite of what we were trying to do. And these are just, things that occurred. And, it was just one campaign, but I guarantee you these things happened before. I know, Black people experienced racism before, but the dynamics here were different because it was such like an unprecedented situation, with Biden stepping down, and, and then the nominee, the candidate, is now a Black woman, and we only had 107 days. So obviously we can't fire everybody and then rehire everybody. That would take like 90 days to get somebody on board. So there's only so much you could do. But then there's also people that were there who had a vested interest in Biden, like Jen O'Malley Dillon, and people that I feel like should have
Mhm.
really done more for Kamala, but they were just too loyal and stuck on Biden. And again, their personal feelings got in the way of what we were allowed to do. And
Wow.
yeah.
That's a shame. That's just the saddest possible version, I think, of
Mm,
all of this, right?
mhm.
I do wonder, all of those folks that came to you that spoke about their experiences, all the people that tried to get those t-shirts sent to them, that actually cared and wanted to do this work, that showed up like largely for free. I mean, nobody gets paid real well in this business except the consultants, right? And the people that did this work for little or no thanks, or sometimes like active antagonism,
Yeah.
where do they go? And also, how do I find them? Because because it is clear to me at this point in time that the Democratic Party does not want these people.
Mm-mm.
And I am
They don't.
happy to take them on.
Yeah.
Like, these folks deserve a network of people that do care and do this work, and like take them seriously and say, go to it, man. Organize your groups. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's sad because so many of them were so young. That's one thing I didn't realize working on a campaign. I was literally like the oldest person I knew.
Oh yeah.
Like everybody, so it was mind boggling to me. Like, wait a minute, you moved out here from Miami and they didn't pay
Yeah.
you to do it? Like, oh, this is
Yep.
a thing. Okay. Now I see, everybody's single, they're young, coming out of college. And so, this was a really exciting time for a lot of those people, those young adults that were, getting into politics. And so um, there was just a lot of toxicity that occurred. And I think a lot of things that they experienced. And, when you sign an NDA, I said, I don't give a shit. So, whatever. But when you sign an NDA, that intimidates and puts pressure on people, and they feel like they can't say anything. And, when you get told, make sure you remember you signed your NDA, because, it would just be unfortunate if, if you weren't able to get a job in politics again, basically, you know, these are.
Okay, so here's a thing. Here's a thing that
Mhm.
I do wanna call out here. I have never met a political person, somebody that, like, loves this stuff. The guy I started this with way, way back when, he used to tell me, "Come out to the Hill. You'll There's nothing like being on the Hill," right?
Mhm.
I am here, I am on the Hill, and I still don't like it. I still am real irritated at all the people working here. But there are people that really enjoy this, like, and want to be in it. And I have never, not ever, met one of those people that would not come back around if you stabbed them in the back. That's their whole jam. Their whole jam is not is using people for whatever they can use them, regardless of what you've done. That's why we're in this mess. And so to
Mhm.
any young person out there, any young person that is listening to this, one, don't sign the NDA, as Chris says, it violates the First Amendment, right? But two, just they need you more than you need them. That is all I can say to that.
Yep.
You do not need them. If you are willing to work, if you're willing to show up, if you have half a brain and you are willing to be on time, that's really it. They will work with you. Do not feel the future is held hostage by these people. It is not.
Yeah.
So that just makes me so mad. Everything makes me mad these days.
I know, but yeah, it's infuriating. So, I feel like that suppressed them, and I feel like, it was such an amazing experience, and I can't speak for them, but I just get the sense that, a lot of them probably walked away kind of feeling defeated and confused, because I was, and I was scared to say anything for so long. God, and I'm pissed I didn't start, being louder right when it happened, but again, I was scared. I wanted to work in politics. This I like that 2024 campaign, that job meant everything to me. That role
Yeah.
meant everything to me. Like what we were doing really meant everything to me. And I didn't see that passion in a lot of those people. And it's frustrating, that now a lot of us are still struggling. Some people are just now getting jobs. Some people still don't have jobs. They laid off most of the workforce, some people who had been there 40 years and got no severance. And, we're all struggling. And then you've got people, you find out the DNC is paying Keith Edwards, a racist, $15,000 a month, but you don't have money to throw to candidates. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's purposeful. They don't want us. They want a white supremacist nation. And as it stands right now, like not every single person in the Democratic Party, but that is what they are pushing towards. They're just not as loud and nasty and mean about it, but they want to retain and, keep the status quo the way that it is. And they just don't want to give up that power.
Yeah. So we actually started diving into the FEC data because, something new, right? We're going to figure out what we're looking at there. $1 billion went to consultants over the last cycle.
Whew.
Like they did
And
added all of it up. Yeah. That's where it went. It just went into, and some of the more egregious actors like Mothership and stuff, but the money does not go to reaching out to people on the ground. And a big piece of that, again, just going back to the organization of the party, really seems to be that they don't regard the county parties as part of the bigger structure. It's not one cohesive organization.
Like you can't sit with
the
us.
Folks operating at the top. Yeah, exactly. Right. The folks operating at the top at the state level, and then down there on the ground, the peons. Right. And man, it is. So just by way of comparison, right? When we were looking up like the counties, because I actually just wanted to ask these counties, like, what do you think your job is? Because so many of our candidates have run into like a county party where it's just some old guy, it's his little social club, and they're like, no, we're going to, right? So what do you think your job is? Was the question I wanted to ask. And we started looking up the county party contact information, right? Because these are official parties. You should be able to reach them. And for the Democrats, you have to like click on the state, and then you probably get a county list, and you click on the county list, and then you maybe get like one personal Yahoo email for the person running this. And you have to just scrape them by hand, right? Everything's different. You go to, there is one website for the GOP, and you just go there, and it's got everything listed, and they're all official emails, and you can reach everybody. Like even just this really basic, what's your phone tree, man? Like
I know.
There's no connection between, and that has been really eye-opening to realize it's not actually one unified party or working towards a single goal. It's just a bunch of little fiefdoms kind of out there, and you got a good dictator or a bad dictator, and hopefully it's somebody that really likes turning out the vote and cares about their community, but you really don't. There's, as you say, there's no actual, you can't hold anybody accountable for that except by showing up, being there, and then trying to take their place in an election, which, as we all know, like petty power struggles are the most intense.
I know.
and that, it's a hard sell to people that want to be involved, want to do something, but also do not want to spend 2 years of their lives listen to old folks who are out of touch and hoping that maybe they get granted a seat at the table. Like, there's got to be a better way, or we have to
I
figure out a
know.
better way, I should say.
I agree.
We have a question in here from Chris, and I think he's got it to me, but I think it's for both of us. Disconnect and arrogance from folks in DC. What can I say about this? I mean, well, I'll just tell a story. I went out to get a drink with my husband, and we're at the bar, and this couple next to us had, cheersed us and said, "Hey, Lindsey Graham has died. Cheers." So we cheers, and we said, "Okay, it's like let's have a conversation, you guys." So I told them a little bit about what we did or what I did. My husband doesn't do this. He supports me, but I'm the crazy political person. And yeah, we started talking about impeachment and stuff, and how it was necessary to impeach Donald Trump. And like, without missing a beat, these folks said, "Man, we're an Obama family. We really we wish Obama was back in office." It's like, okay, well, he's not. He hasn't been for like 2 decades. So what are you doing now? All the stuff that's happening. Right. And I feel like that's really emblematic of just, folks showed up when it was a good time.
That's scary.
And now what are they going to do? Right.
That makes me sick to the pit of my stomach because it's very scary,
really
Yeah.
It's a really very, very focused on hoping for something better and not working for it, at least in my experience.
Right now in DC, you're seeing that.
Oh man,
is that what you're saying?
I'll talk to anybody, right? Yeah, I mean, I see it everywhere, right? Like, there are Major Watson, who we talked about at the beginning of this. He's one of the very first folks that I think has really broken through this sort of, you've got the people that see what is happening and are really horrified about it and want to do something or maybe don't know where to go. Then you've got, folks just kind of trying to get by, man. Like, they got small kids, or they, are looking for work or something. And like, I get it. Life is rough right now, and they're making it rougher. I understand. We also have people who are really well set. Like, they are super comfortable and they are living a solid life. And it hasn't penetrated yet that this is, like, we are in a serious problem, right? And it's going to take everybody to get out of it. And maybe it hasn't reached you yet, but it will. Mm-hmm. And by disconnect, I mean, like, there's like the folks that think it's useless and they've decided, well, I'm not going to work at that anymore. There's the folks that have tried their hardest and met a stone wall and they just can't. And then there are people that talk themselves out of it every single day. There are still folks that tell us that impeachment won't work and we shouldn't bother trying, right? There's still people that say, well, if you really cared about this, you would get involved in electoral politics. And then we're like, great, we got 150 candidates. Is that enough? like there are people that are so dedicated to not just the status quo, but to just cynicism.
Yes.
That they refuse to do any work at all. I hope that makes sense.
It does. It does. It makes a lot of sense, unfortunately. That's kind of what I see too. I just was hoping maybe it's just here because, people aren't as politically, like, interested in things like that. So I don't know, but dang. Yeah.
The thing that's been a real, I mean, it's a good reminder, right? As somebody that spends all their time reading about this stuff and trying to figure out what to do. But the thing that really brought it home to me was a poll that YouGov put together just on the Iran war. This is right after Trump signed his Versailles Treaty, right? And they just asked people, right? What they asked folks, are we in a better place or a worse place, or has it changed, or do you not know? And it was just equal, 25% across the board. Nobody had, like, the media isn't telling the story, the opposition isn't telling the story, even the people that want folks to believe that we're doing well are not telling the story well. Folks are just checked out completely. I come from a different background. I come from the military background, and just for the audience, we are worse off, demonstrably worse off, not only in like practical, tactical terms of like stuff moving through the Strait of Hormuz, but also in terms of like who is ever going to ally with us ever again. This is a massive,
Hmm.
massive problem for us, and we are not going to come out of this well in any way, shape, or form. But the fact that people are so that it doesn't even register right now as the type of foreign policy disaster that people were worried about sending someone with like an inexperience to office with,
Yeah.
right? I'm sure that's something that that came up, right? Like that's something that came up with the in the campaign itself. The fact that this type of abject failure is not even registering as such is a serious problem.
Hmm. I agree. And it's sad that we here are ignoring it. I mean, we here are, the propaganda here has been very successful. I don't
Mhm.
feel like
That's a
we
way to
talk
say
about
it.
that enough
Yeah.
because, they say, oh, we're going to be like Russia. We're going to be like, whatever. And I know that there's only so many, MAGA, but that's still a big chunk of people. And regardless, that part doesn't necessarily matter. It's who's in government and who they are beholden to. And I'm just now seeing people on threads freaking out because of the vote that's about to be held, the U.S. Israel defense merger, whatever. And they're like, what? What's happening? This is happening. And I'm like, oh dear. Like
I mean,
it's
man, that's a whole other thing, right? Just folks learning. It's good that they're learning. It's good that they are, understanding more about the world and how it works, right? And I feel like 1,000 years old for these people that are up in arms. And you're like, yeah, man, like the New York Police Department was in Israel on October 7th. They were training with them. We've done this. The Atlanta the Atlanta training range is called Little Gaza. This is a thing that has been happening for decades, forever. I'm glad you're here, man, but like a little late to the party.
yeah.
And again, a lot of these folks, when they show up late to the party, they don't want to do any work. I know I keep coming back to this, but like
Yeah.
it's it's super frustrating. I mean, be mad, okay, but what are you gonna do?
Right. It's like I struggle with that, like, because I know a lot of it is propaganda. The reason why people aren't paying attention is because of the propaganda, because of the social engineering and mind control and all of these things that are occurring right now. And, things that they've put in our lives, in our food, in our music, to pacify us and make us apathetic to everything and dumb us down, essentially. And a lot of us are waking up now, but it's like, I don't know, how do we force people to understand that, if you're still not fully there and grasping it, like telling them this is literally like an Avengers movie, like they're going to think this is hyperbolic, whatever, how do we like, I don't know. I don't want it to get to the point where it's affecting every single person because that means our chance of
Oh yeah.
survival is very, very slim. I don't want it to get to that point. Um, I don't know. And I don't know why people are still set on thinking that there's no, no way at all to impeach or no chance at all of impeachment because whatever, that was the propaganda thing is that, we're so, people are so entrenched in what's happening here, but like the globe already knows. He's already shifted everything. We are now multipolar. We are no longer the hegemony. Everything has
Absolutely.
shifted and changed, and it's all because of January 2025 and beyond. And he has to be impeached. The entire world knows he's started World War III. He's literally creating like the end of the world. The nuclear threat is like the highest it's ever been right now. We're back there again and we're going to get there. And it's like these people, the people that are in power, I don't understand if they just don't care. I just don't understand it. but I don't want to get to that point. And we have to
Yeah.
impeach. If not for, it's not even just for impeachment, it sets a precedent. Like if we don't impeach him or put forth articles of, and this is the worst dictator we've had probably in this country's history, then there's absolutely, going forward, there's never, ever, ever, ever going to be any level of anything. We are going to be a free for all, and anybody can get away with any crime that they want, and it's going to be insanity. So we have to hold him accountable to set a precedent for the entire world. You know, I don't understand.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it, I mean, it is helpful to remember that a lot of the folks in this work are real thin-skinned and hate seeing their name next to bad press. I mean, if you guys,
Well, good.
whoever's
Who are
watching,
they?
if y'all need everybody, man, like that's why the North Carolina Democratic Party took action. I think the Instagram post we made about that blog had like 3 likes on it or something when our candidate got a DM about it. Like they read what's out there, and they are real, like, and not when I talk about criticism, I'm not talking about like you suck, go die, right? Like that's not an actual criticism, but being able to present you are failing at the job you think you're doing. You imagine yourself to be the good guy, to be the opposition, but you are not. You are in fact enabling this, right? Here's what you could be doing. Tell me why you're not doing that. That's the chain of events. That's like the relentless chain of events that you have to chase down, because
Yeah.
anywhere that you leave the smallest gap, the smallest ability to say, well, I couldn't do it, or it wasn't my fault, or I didn't have the tools, or it wasn't the support, like they'll make up a reason, right? And so it has to be sort of a very aggressive insistence that no, this is actually your job and you do have to do it. And that is why we ended up with all the candidates, because they weren't going to do their job. So we're going to replace you. But even just that leap, that's not a leap people make. I've been told more than once that was like a brilliant strategy move. And over here, like, well, what else would you do if your elected official doesn't make this happen, right? It's yeah, there's a real lack of imagination about how politics can operate, how it can impact people, and what participating in it looks like. I don't know exactly how we change it, but it certainly doesn't have to look like this. It certainly doesn't have to look like dismissiveness and, wait your turn BS.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely. We definitely as a whole need to make an effort in, they don't make an effort in like mentoring and bringing younger people in and teaching them the ropes. I feel like, at least here, I know MAGA, the Republicans do.
Well, I feel like it's a slightly different scenario, because there they actually invest in their people, right? Like if you lose an election, you go work at a think tank for 4 years until you come back, or 2 years or whatever, right? It turns out that sometimes they'll even pay for a practice run where they know you're going to lose. So they'll run you as a candidate. They'll give you, $300,000 or something like that, do your work. And then when you lose, like they know you're going to lose, then you're all set up for the next round. You've got a mailing list, you got people, you got like, you tried once and you failed, and now you can go do it on your own. Like there is an investment in putting people on the field in every place that's possible. And again, this is not like evil mastermind shit. This is just like, do you actually want to win? Yes or no?
Right.
Like that's all it is, man. Yeah. So I guess, we're right up on the hour there. And I'll just say to your folks, to everybody listening, if there are people that want to do the work, like let us join hands and get that done, man. It's that's the only thing that matters. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many things that we can do. So
yeah. Well, and sometimes, what is it, like work makes luck? I can't remember the exact phrase, but people have been telling us for a year and a half now, right? Like, oh, this Senate will never pass it. And well, you know what? They're all being struck down left and right. So I will take my chances on that, right? Be prepared. Exactly. Preparation makes luck happen. Something along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was really great talking with you.
Yeah. Anything
no, Yeah, just, as I always say, there's always something that you can do. You can get involved with your local ACLU, or, start lobbying and figuring out how to, start talking with your state representatives in your district and legislators. And there's so much that we can do. But yeah, I'm happy that we had this talk because it was very eye-opening for me as well. And I think, we all have the same goal. And um, yeah, how can we support you? And like, what can we do to help
Yeah, well, right
encourage
now,
candidates?
actually, well, I got two things. One is that harass you can
Yes.
harass Representative Adam Smith. Go to Instagram, go look at his reel, and tell
Not
him,
harass,
sir,
not harass, but
well,
a nice,
inform him
sternly
of his
worded.
responsibilities. Yes. He is a representative of the United States Congress. He can at any time introduce articles of impeachment, and more than that, he can force a vote on them using Rule 9. That is something he can do right now immediately. It costs him nothing, and if they don't pass, then he introduces them again. But this is something he can do right now. We can talk about how bad this is. He has the power to actually do something. So that would be my first request. Just go hunt. And I mean, it's like a very like middling post. It's got like 500 likes on it, and 30 comments. You guys will be noticed if you go talk to him. So
Okay.
that's one for sure. For the courage candidates, please do. I'll type Courage for Democracy in here. Go learn about them. You can organize it by state and by race. You can see who's through to the general election, and if you've got somebody in there, send it to a friend, right? If they're living in North Carolina 10, or if they're in Montana, be sure to let them know that they have an option out there, and that option is already on the table. We worked up the numbers, and like 13 million people are going to have a courage candidate on the ballot this November, which is just wild
That's
to think
awesome.
about.
Yeah.
And we still have 40 people headed into primaries, right? We've got Arizona next week, and then Michigan, Wisconsin, Virginia, a bunch of folks, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, up in the Northeast. The primaries are still out there for a lot of folks. So get to know them, meet them yourself. All of these are real people. We've talked to all of them. They would love to meet you and hear what concerns you. So yeah, just reach out, spread the word, and get Adam Smith on the on the impeachment train.
I definitely will.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much, guys. Thank y'all for joining. We'll have this up. I know the technical difficulties were a struggle, but we'll post it as soon as we can. Really appreciate you being here today.
Thank
Take
you.
care, folks.
All right. Bye, everybody.